Hello everyone, and welcome back to our second episode of our Java game development tutorial series. So today, like I said, we're going to be working on tiles, and then we're going to also be implementing GUIs. So let's start off with tiles. So let's create a new package, and we'll call this tiles. And inside of tiles package, we'll create a class called tile. And this tile class is going to contain all the logic behind each tile. So for each tile that we actually want, we'll create their own class where we'll define their color. And that color is going to show the tile that we want. So let's start off by getting some arguments from each of those tiles. So public tile, we want an ID, we want a name, and we want a color. But we also want to access those in other functions, so we'll create some variables for those. Private int ID, private string name, and private color call. And then make sure you import color. Alright, so this .id is equal to ID, this .name is equal to name, and this call is equal to call. So I'm also going to go about this in a little bit of a different way. Each tile is going to have 4 small squares inside of it, just to give it a bit of variation in color. So on the top left will be 1 square, top right, and then bottom left and bottom right. They'll all be different squares with a little bit of different color. So we don't want to define each color for each square, we just want to do an offset. So we want to create a single dimension array of an integer, and we're going to say call offset. And, whoops, we want to initialize that. So call offset is equal to a new int, and we're going to make it 4 dimension, or 4, we're going to have 4 indexes in this single dimension array. And now let's initialize it. So I'm just going to do a for loop. This may not be the most efficient way to do it, but it's less lines of code. So for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 4. Actually, we'll just do call offset dot length, just in case we decided to change it to like 20 colors or whatever. Then I++. So we want to do call offset at I is equal to a new random, and let's just change that amount by, we'll say 16, either negative or positive by 16. So we want, oh, don't forget to import random. So we want to do next int, and because we're going minus or positive 16, we want to make the whole number 32 and just subtract that by 16. Alright, so now that we have that, we can go down here and create a public void render, and we'll give it a position X, position Y, whoops, int pose Y, and we will give it a graphics object so we can draw the actual rectangle or square. But we also want to define what size the tile is going to be. So if we do private int, private static final int tile size, and we'll just make that equal to 32 pixels. Alright, so now in our render function, we want to give each square their offset and make sure it's the same each time we run the render, so it does not like mix and match them. So one way we can do that, instead of running it each time the render function goes, we can just create it up here. Alright, so we want to make it up in the constructor. So we want to make another private int single dimension array, and this is going to be called our color green color, and blue color. We're going to have 3 different ones for each red, green, and blue value. So let's initialize those. And our color is going to be equal to a new int of 4 indexes. And same thing with green col. But we also just want to make that 4, and then same thing with blue col. And if you want to load images, I will show you how to do that later. But for right now, I'm just going to use the graphics rectangles just because it's simple and fast and we don't have to worry about loading images yet. So we want to loop over these as well. So I is equal to 0, I is less than, we'll just do, 4, why not? I plus plus. Alright, so now for each color, we want to do our whatever specific color you're doing. Our col is equal to, or our col at I is equal to col dot get red plus col offset of I. And so what that basically does is it'll set each index equal to whatever red color you set for the tile, plus or minus whatever the offset is. And then we'll do that for green. And we will do that for blue as well. All right, so now that we have that all set up, we want to make sure that that specific color is not a negative integer or an integer greater than 255, because we will get an out of bounds error for the color class. So we want to say if our col at I is less than 0. Actually, I'm just not going to use brackets because there's no point right now. And I mean, it's better for organization, but this will be cleaner just to make it take up less of the screen. So then our col at I is equal to 0. And then we'll do that same for green and blue. And make sure you're setting it here as well. Then we can just copy that, paste it again, and we want to check for a greater than. And check if it's greater than 255. Oops. Okay. And then we just want to set them to 255. All right. So now let's get into actually drawing it. So we'll start off with the top left section, and we will do g.set color, new color, and we will get our col of 0, because this will be the first square that we do. So 0, green col of 0, and blue col of 0. Then we also want to draw a filled rectangle, and we want to start this off at pose x times tile size. Then we can just put those in parentheses because we're going to need to later. Then this one will be position y, and the width and height are going to be tile size. Oh, sorry, tile size divided by 2. I forgot we were doing separate sections. So tile size divided by 2. And there we go, we got the first box. Now we can move on to the next one, and we're going to do top right, and just change these to red, green, and blue color at index 1. And then since we are doing the top right, we just want to shift the position X over by tile size divided by 2. So just add tile size divided by 2. And then we can start with the bottom ones. So let's do, bottom left. And so instead of adding it to the X, we just add it to the Y value. And then copy this for the right side, and we'll just keep everything the same except add tile size divided by 2 to the position X side as well. Alright, so now that we have that done, we should be all good to render a tile. But first, we have to make a tile. So, if we click on our tile package, go to class, and we'll create a tile grass. Alright, now that has loaded, this class is going to extend tile and add the constructor from our tile class. And in the super section, let's make an ID. So grass will be ID of 0. Give it a name of grass, and we'll set the color equal to a new color. Make sure you import it. And it's going to be 0. We'll go to 180. Actually, we'll go to 200 and 0. So now that that's all set up, all we have to do is go into our render class. So if we make a variable, and this is just going to be temporary, we're not going to keep it. So private tile, we're just going to be calling it grass. And let's make a render constructor. So inside of the constructor, we'll set grass is equal to a new tile grass. Import tile grass. And then if we go down here and we go grass dot render, position X will be 0, 0, and then graphics is G. So let's run that and see how it looks. So as you can see, we have our tile rendering up in the top corner. And if we run it again, it should change the colors just a little bit. So yeah, basically inverted what it was. If we want those tiles to be a little bit bigger, all I have to do is change this from 32, and I'll just double it to 64. So we'll draw that, and you can see that it is changed. Did I? I did. I forgot to change these to 2 and 3. No wonder they were the same colors. Alright, so now that we have that, it'll give it a bit more variation. There we go. Now you can see each tile has a totally separate color. And they are close, but it'll give a little bit of variation in the game. And if you want more variation, all you have to do is increase this. And you'll see totally different colors. So that's a lot more harsh of a transition between those 4 colors. And if you set it down to 16 and only go by 8, then you're barely gonna see any difference. Actually, that didn't even load anything. There we go. So yeah, you can barely see a difference. So it all depends on what you like. I'm gonna keep it at 32 for now, and I might change it later on to the 16 because I did like this subtle difference, and this is a bit too harsh for my liking. Alright, so that's about all I'm going to be able to get to today, but you can go through and make as many tiles as you want. If you want to do grass or stone or sand, you can create those, and all I have to do is create variables for them and render them. And in the next episode, I will show you guys how to just load them all with one variable, and then we will also get into GUIs. So eventually we can make a main menu and a pause menu and our in-game menu. So hopefully you guys liked the video, and if you did, please leave a comment and a like, and make sure to subscribe if you want to stick around for more tutorials and see where this game goes. And I hope you guys have a great day.